I'm Jonathan Pilkington. This is what originated as a podcast called Just Beautiful Experiences about music, food, and travel. And it's kind of evolved into a YouTube video channel. And I'm here with Jazzmine Douse from AmaWaterways. And we met on a river cruise on the Danube, um, which was a fantastic experience. And well, first of all, so can you just tell us a little about yourself and then we'll talk about our conversation?
Yes, absolutely. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with Jonathan today. I am a travel professional. I've been in the travel industry, I would say, for about 8 years. I've spent all of those years with AMA,
Mm,
started in reservations and kind of worked in different departments. And now I am actually working with our national accounts department. So it's great to be able to work with our partners and help to grow the business and things of that sort. I am I'm 31 years old here, so a young professional and obviously, a young Black woman. So there are some challenges, we face day to day, but I'm thankful to see how things have transpired and progressed. And there's just a lot of positive energy around it. I'm thankful to be a part of it. So I'm actually part of a board also
mm,
with North Star Travel Group. As we know, they are one of the larger corporations and publications that really gets news out there to the travel industry, and they have a diversity board, Black Travel Advisory Board. So
right.
it's great to be able to serve on that as well. So just a little bit about me and what I'm doing now.
Yeah, that's good. I remember seeing that about that board a few months ago, but I had forgotten. So good. Um, I want to know more about it. So I'm titling this River Cruises Are Not Just for Old White People, because even I have struggle with that idea, that stereotype that they are. Um, so I really learned that from going on one, and um, I'm 42 years old, obviously white, and had the time of my life on a river cruise. I mean, I have the time of my life on an ocean cruise or a trip to Florida. Like, it's it's
Right.
gonna happen. But um, I met people around my age. I met Jasmine, at least one other wonderful black couple, um, Tilly and
Tilly and James, yes.
James.
Yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And it was just such a lovely group of people that I met, and um, I wasn't bored. I didn't feel like it was stuffy or um, like geared to old people.
Right.
There was
Right.
dancing at night, like real dancing, like fun dancing.
Yeah.
um, so it was a great time. Um, so I was interested that you just said that there are challenges every day that you face. Um, can you say what any of those are?
Do you mean just like kind of as a Black woman in travel,
Hmm.
essentially?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I had an experience because so right now I deal with national accounts, which is great. I think I have a wonderful team behind me and wonderful accounts that I work with. But I think it was more so when I was out in the field. Um,
Hmm.
I was a BDM, a business development manager with AMA for a certain period. It was about 2.5, 3 years, and it was in the Pacific Northwest,
Hmm.
with Washington, Oregon, Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, Alaska, and I definitely ran into some interesting people there and a few challenges. And I even had just kind of a short story. I was going in to see an advisor, and she was very sweet, and she too was a transplant, and I was in Montana. I think I was in Bozeman actually,
Hmm.
and she just said, "Hey, I think you're great, and I just love your personality." And she was very kind, and she said, "So I just feel like I have to share with you that when I first moved here, that there was a gentleman, and he had came over in my neighborhood, and he let me know. He says, 'Hey, like if around here we shoot, shovel, and shut up.
Oh.
And if that's not really something that you understand, this probably isn't the place for you, so he had
Mm,
shared that with her, and she shared it with me, and she was just sharing to say, hey, it's great that you're out here and you're coming to the smaller agencies, because that's what AmaWaterways do. We reach out to everyone,
mm-hmm.
and our goal is to provide the same level of service, no matter if you're a small mom and pop agency or one of the larger, virtuoso type of agencies. And she just said, when you're visiting these places, you want to avoid some of the smaller towns, and that you really want to focus on going to towns that have colleges in them,
Hmm.
colleges or universities. And she said, whenever there's a college and a university, you'll notice that there are people that are a little bit more forward thinking, a little bit more open to diversity because of that effect that educational institution has on the
Right.
city. I just thought that was just so interesting, the fact that she felt that she needed to tell me that, and the content of what she'd actually said. And
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting because people don't realize, that things like this happen, day to day. And, we keep smiling and we keep pushing through, and you let your light shine and hopefully have a positive effect on them rather than the other way around.
Right. Yeah. And I think stories like that are important to hear because it's so easy to just be like, what are you talking about? That you're fine. Like like there's nothing happening. Like nobody's being racist towards you, but
Mhm.
it's subtle so
Yeah.
often. um okay. So then I was thinking about diversity in travel as a term. I can
Yeah.
imagine that that could so my cat is here. we we
Hi.
can't ignore the fact. Yeah. She's gonna be noisy. Um
It's okay.
so diversity in travel could be in people working in travel as well as travelers.
Right.
So, and I think that's two separate challenges. Um
They are.
so how, I mean, I'll say what came to my mind because I haven't thought too much about it, honestly. But
Uh-huh.
just in our educational system, sparking curiosity in people of all races and demographics so that they want to explore the world. um, and just being sure that everyone has the same opportunities. Um, I would say that's a huge start. um, but what other ideas have you come across?
I think it has a lot to do with exposure, right?
Mm-hmm.
The more that I think that different races are more exposed to certain opportunities or industries, the more there would be more interest, right? And hopefully more participants and a little bit more of a diversified audience or employee base. And I think it has a lot to do with ensuring that everyone feels comfortable, and sometimes sometimes that level of uncomfort could, knowing that you may be the only person of color at an event, or knowing that
Mm-hmm.
you may be the only woman at a predominantly male event. Anytime you tend to be on, I guess, the minority, for lack of better words, side of things, it's a lot more noticeable. But when you're on the other side of it, when you are a part of the majority of the demographic or ethnicity that may be in that room, you may not notice. And so I think we want to raise awareness so that everyone can begin to notice, right? And can
Mm-hmm.
be invested in saying, hey, things could be a little bit different, even though they're perfectly fine for me currently how they stand.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it would be nice, to ensure that everyone gets the same opportunities, because in getting those same opportunities, you see people rise to the occasion, right?
Yeah.
So getting the word out about it. I think a lot of mentorship programs are needed.
Mm.
It's one of the things we're working on with the Black Travel Advisory Board.
Okay.
That'll be great for recruitment, right? If you're mentoring younger kids and planting that seed, and they grow up and they're interested in now working in travel, and maybe they might attend an HBCU, or maybe even
Mm-hmm.
attending a standard, college or university. And then having these recruitment opportunities set up where agency owners and corporations are making an effort to look for diverse candidates, and being intentional and saying, hey, we want to make sure that um, not necessarily to meet certain numbers, or percentages,
Yeah.
but just to say that you made an effort, right, to do something other than the norm. Because we all know what the norm is, right? It's the default of currently where we stand. But how can we make a difference in that? And it's just about being intentional.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I like that. So, like at a college fair, you would have a travel agency say, "Hey, have you considered a career in travel? This could be an interesting option for you." But,
Absolutely.
okay.
Absolutely. That actually would be really great, because I think that even for myself, I had no idea really about the ins and outs of the travel industry before I began to work in it. I
Sure.
actually came upon my position. I was working at a company that I wasn't too fond of, but I was, getting a steady paycheck, living in California, specifically LA. You got to make sure you can stay afloat, and
Right.
so I was working here. I went to a temp agency and, sought them out to find maybe another profession for me, another career I might take a look at. And they came to me actually with AmaWaterways.
Wow.
Um, and I, as a river cruise specialist, answering the phones and on the other end of how you'd call in to make a booking, welcome to AmaWaterways type of thing, right? And yeah, so I started, and then it wasn't until then I was like, wow, how come, why was I never really introduced to the travel industry before? How did I not know that this was a thing, and
Hmm.
all the perks that you even get by working within the travel industry. And
Yes.
that alone is amazing.
It sure is. I love it. Did you have something else in mind that you were going to do? Uh,
I think you mean as far as like outreach or.
Oh, sorry, no. Did you have another career goal until this came along?
Oh, yes, I did. I did. When I was younger, I really admired the anchors, the TV anchors. And
Mm,
so I kind of wanted to do some broadcast journalism. That's actually what I went to school for. So mass
okay.
communications and journalism at
Wow.
Fresno State Bulldogs. And so, yes, I did think I was going to maybe be going down that path or working in um, some kind of aspect that had to deal with communication. I love
Hmm.
people, that communication, being able to learn more and really immerse myself into different cultures through conversation. And travel just takes that even further, right? Because
For
now you're at
sure.
the destination as well. So
Yeah.
it was perfect once I got in it, but I just wondered how I had never even come across it or even thought to even consider it before.
Hmm. Right. Um, well, I'm glad you did. It seems like you're you're really using what you went to school for, but not in the way you would have imagined. That's great.
Yeah, yeah,
um,
inadvertently.
yeah. What so then how can we make travel itself more diverse? That's seems like a bigger challenge to me. Or maybe
Yeah,
not bigger, but a very so different.
yeah. I mean, to get people traveling, right? To get
Hmm.
more people of color traveling.
Yeah.
Um, I think it has a lot to do with exposure. Again, it
Hmm.
comes down to making people aware. I've always kind of had a dream of putting together a type of nonprofit organization where, um, we go to, middle schoolers, high schoolers, and plant the seed about travel,
Yeah.
and express to them how important travel is for the enrichment of their lives, right? I like to say that when you travel, every time you travel, you gain a new set of lenses, right?
Hmm.
Eyeglass lens. So you gain a new set of lenses, you come back with those lenses and you look through them and you see things a little bit differently,
Absolutely.
that travel experience. And
Yeah.
so if there's, a way to plant that seed early and get these kids to start thinking about travel early and even traveling even within their city, going
Hmm.
outside of their city, then going outside of their state, and then going outside of the Western region, going over to, the Midwest or the East, and then taking that and going international and gradually, spreading your wings, your travel wings, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, so I think that's really important is planting the seed and letting people know that it's tangible, it's
Yeah.
doable. Sometimes I think people think travel is unreachable, that maybe it's too
Hmm.
expensive, like, oh, I can't do that. But you can, you can absolutely. So maybe even budgeting has a lot to do with, some of it as well. I think if you can marry all those together by planting the seed, budgeting, and really having the confidence that you too can experience something like that. Um, I think you can see more travel. Sure.
That's, yes, I love it. I want to be part of this nonprofit. I think that's a great idea.
Thank you. Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Develop it one day. I keep talking about it, but I got to to motion. Now it's
Yeah,
really real. I've talked to you about it on camera.
that's right. um, I think it's such a good idea to not, I mean, it regardless of what school you go to, it will increase awareness
Mhm.
and hopefully light a, what's it called?
A
Spark
fire.
something,
Yeah, like a fire, like
light a little fire within
yeah,
a child of any color
yep,
or race.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And then absolutely agree that the idea of budgeting is a huge part of it. It changed my life when I started actually having a budget, and
Mhm,
it's like
mhm,
travel is a priority and I'm going to make it happen.
absolutely.
Yeah, and there's money there. You figure it out.
Yep, it is, and it's really almost one of the most invaluable things that you can purchase, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Even though it's just a travel period, those memories, they last a lifetime, and the impressions that they make on your life can even change your life. You can travel somewhere that will literally change your life and
Yeah.
change your whole mindset and perspective, and you can be a completely different person.
Right.
So that's worth the investment. That's worth the investment.
I I absolutely agree. And I pretty much say that my life has changed every trip I take, like even the smallest trip.
Yeah.
Cause
You learn,
it's
you always learn something about yourself, I think,
yeah.
every time you travel and get out there. And especially those trips, it's the ones that have the ups and downs, right?
Hmm.
Where you kinda have to go with the ebb and flow of things, even though you have this perfectly curated itinerary. Yeah,
That's
but I love
really
it.
true.
I love it.
Yeah, yeah. Um, okay, that's okay, great. What I guess a different topic. So
Okay.
what just to kind of sum it up a little bit. So what's your favorite, either your favorite place to visit,
Mhm.
or I mean you can answer both questions. Your favorite AmaWaterways itinerary.
Ooh. Well, I know you guys can see my background here. So this is actually the ship we were on, the
Yes.
Amana. I can tell you river cruising does have a place in my heart, right? Like you said, it's not for, I think river cruising has had the small stigma, that
Mm-hmm.
it's only for a certain type of individual. But when you think about river and the flexibility of it, the
Yes.
intimacy of it, the accessibility of the river cruise ships, the level of choices that are there, it really becomes a very attractive way to travel.
Mm-hmm.
Because you think of when you travel and you go and most people stay at hotels or lodges or Airbnbs. So you're always going to actually find housing, right? That's part of bed and breakfast. You're going to find the bed, right? But we're just saying, why not allow the entire experience float along with you, your floating hotel, as you travel through these different countries. So river cruising in itself has become one of my favorite types of travel,
Mm-hmm.
after working with ama, and I would say as far as destination, if I go on the river side of things, I'm definitely going to say the Mekong,
Oh,
the
okay.
Mekong, Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
I did that itinerary with Alma a few years ago with my mother, and it was you do Siem Reap for 3 nights, and you get to go visit, some of the temples and Tonle Sap Lake, and I mean, just beautiful being able to see the sunset. And then we head on over and we do the 7 night cruise from Siem Reap to Ho Chi Minh City, and then we stayed in Ho Chi Minh City for a night, and it's more of your city, city feel there, more of modern city. And it was just an amazing experience.
Mm.
Third world, but really still being able to have that luxury feel of being on an AmaWaterways river cruise ship, right? So that was always a great comfort. But really
Mm-hmm.
getting to know the individuals, the Cambodian, the Vietnamese people, they were very kind, they were very welcoming. They felt honored that we had chosen their home,
Wow.
to visit as a vacation. And with our itinerary, it is very it gets you really into the day-to-day life. So you ride their local mode of transportation, which is a tuk-tuk. So you're going to get on a tuk, you're going to take an oxtail ride or ox cart ride.
Yes.
And then also, you think about the religion. So you actually go to a Buddhist monastery and you have an opportunity to actually feed the monks, like while you're there. You can decide to one of the tours. We actually go to a local school, and it's a school that AmaWaterways sponsors. And you walk in, and the children are doing their normal schoolwork, but they're so excited, to see us as Americans, and they're so excited to practice their English. And so
Hmm.
you just sit there, and you just see so much joy. And my mom's a school teacher, so she just got right on into it. Had some great images of her and that experience, but it really gets you into the day-to-day life, and you go and you actually see what some of the daily occupations, like silk, making the silk and the
Mm.
candies, and trying the snake wine and the textiles. I mean, I just loved it. I can go on and on. I think
Okay.
it's probably actually one of my top experiences.
Sure. Yeah. That's not Kathy Brock always says it's her favorite too, right?
That is it.
Yeah. Okay. I've got to do it.
Yeah, you do. You do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
To get back out there, I would always recommend, especially for those who I don't necessarily like to put an age on it, but like younger minded, you want to be a little bit more adventurous.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how that itinerary is. I mean, there's some places where the port, you actually see the crew disembark and they actually have to carve a port, so that you can actually disembark and go
Wow.
ashore.
Oh my goodness.
So it's interesting in those senses, but you see that it's more of untouched, territory. So it's very authentic, and I think
Yeah.
something that really sets it apart from more of the touristy destinations that I think we're all very used to seeing and visiting often.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I can imagine, well, first of all, speaking of budget, you
Hmm.
know what you're going to pay for your whole trip. So
It.
so book it and start saving.
Yep.
And then for someplace so foreign, I can imagine it's a really comfortable way to travel, but still also have all these authentic experiences.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
the best way to do it. I feel like if you're going to go to a destination like that, there really isn't a better way. But even when you look at the European river cruises, because Europe grew from the banks of the rivers,
Mm-hmm.
river cruising is actually one of the best ways to actually go visit Europe, because most of the monuments and the UNESCO World Heritage sites and even the city centers are all steps away from the river cruise ship. And
Yeah.
that river cruise ship, as you know, Jonathan, pulls right on over to the port, right to the banks of the rivers. You can walk off, there's no long lines, and you can be right there on the other side of the port in almost what, a minute?
Absolutely. Yeah.
It depends on, yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, it is. And I know I never would have gone to Melk or Dürnstein if
The
I would have gone to,
Vacaville Valley.
yeah. um yeah, so I'm a fan and can't wait to go more and have more people go.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm.
Right. I'm like, I wish I was really on this sun deck right now.
Yes, me too. I love that. Okay. Well, first of all, do you have anything else to share? Anything you feel like you need to say?
No, nothing but thank you for having me, Jonathan. It was fun
Yeah,
just kind of
yeah,
chatting with you here and
yeah. I
have
think it's
a good conversation.
yeah, it's been good. Um, so as the name of this overall is beautiful experiences, just beautiful experiences. Um, you just described some for sure, but is there any one thing that just comes to mind when you hear that?
Ooh, honestly, there's a couple of things that come to mind.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've got to go back to the Mekong,
Yeah.
just because it is again one of my nearest and dearest. But the sunsets while you're on the Mekong River
Mm.
were the most beautiful sunsets I've ever seen in my life. And I took some images of them, and it's almost like this, but I think this one might be a little bit doctored up, but the range of colors, from that bright kind of pink peach to that really almost like a darkened lavender. It was just absolutely stunning to sit out there, and it was so still and quiet. So it's almost just like kind of like that peace be still
Mm.
moment. And I just remember being there and experiencing that and just really appreciating the silence and the nature and the beauty of it all. Um, to add to that, as we were sailing through a dense patch of lily pads. So you actually couldn't see the water.
Ooh.
It
Yeah.
just looked like you were on green, like you were. So it was just a combination of all of that. And I just remember in that moment, I was like, this is blowing my mind. This is just such an amazing moment. And I, of course, ran to grab my phone and I captured it. I got a video, and there was others you saw that were on their sun deck because they were taking part in it as well. But there's just nothing like being there and experiencing it
Oh
yourself.
yes.
So I'd say that one comes to mind almost
Okay.
immediately. Yeah. Um, one of the others that is a little different, but it kind of I think it's a great story because it really just speaks to travel and how and why it's so important. As I mentioned on the Mekong, me and my mom travel, and right now I have my hair straightened, but sometimes I have braids. And they're individual braids. There's a lot of braids all over our head, and it's kind of long, maybe down to your mid back. And so here we are walking the streets of Cambodia and in Vietnam as well, in the different cities. And while we're walking and taking pictures of everything around us, um, the Vietnamese and Cambodian people were taking pictures of us. Because it was rare that they saw Black women, Black men, Black people out
Mm-hmm.
in their country walking around
Yeah.
for a week as we were. And there was a moment that I'll never forget. And I also captured that as well, where a local was selling some items in the market, and she saw me and my mother passing, and she came over and she just looked at me and my mom and she said, "Oh my gosh." She's like, you can tell her vocabulary was a little bit limited. She's like, "I love your style, your skin, and then your hair." And then so she came over and she was looking, and she was so fascinated with our braids, and she was just looking through my mom's hair. My mom just had this huge smile on my face as she's talking to her. And I'm like sitting back and I'm taking the picture. And it's those moments, and it was enriching for us. And it was also even enriching for the locals of who we were visiting,
Yeah.
and so those are two beautiful moments. Again, they were from the Mekong, which I guess it's good too, because I'm here, I'm a representative. So
Oh yeah. That's
those
great. I
are
mean,
great. Those are great ones to mention.
I'm sold completely.
Yeah.
um, okay, I'll work that out. Um, and speaking of working things out, I'm gonna keep thinking about your nonprofit. I think
Okay.
it's such a great idea, and yeah, we should be in touch. And because I'm an educator too, if you didn't know, so
Okay.
yeah, I'm very interested. Um, but anyway, this has been great. It's good to see you and to talk to you, and thanks for joining me.
I know. Thank you for having me. And I was just telling someone, it hit me the other day that the last time I'd been on a, real vacation was when we were on the Alma Magna,
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
right? Because right after that, that's when things began to shut down. As soon as we got back in March,
That's
and
true.
we've been, kind of on lockdown. So I can't
Hmm.
wait to get back on one of those nice big vacations, and especially being back on a river cruise ship. It's in the near future. Every day
Oh, yeah.
is a day closer to that day.
That's right. Yes. Um, okay. Well, thank you so much. And
You're welcome.
yeah,
Thanks
yeah.
for
And
having me.
I hope we'll be in touch soon for a lot of river cruise bookings.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think so. Let's do it. Let's make it happen.
Okay. Sounds good.
All righty.
Bye.
Bye.